Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're stepping into a really complex space
Yeah.
inside our own minds. We're talking about that hidden machinery, inner conflict, unconscious stuff, unresolved desires, and why we react the way we do. Our mission really is to try and figure out why certain people or even just certain traits can just trigger such a huge reaction in us, like an absolute visceral eruption. What does that intense feeling actually tell us about ourselves?
It's such a key question because often what we're reacting to isn't really out there. That intense dislike, that judgment, it's often rooted in something we absolutely refuse to see or accept in ourselves. It's like a psychological masterpiece of self-protection.
Self-protection, how so?
Think of it like a kind of silent deportation. There's some feeling, maybe neediness, maybe anger, maybe even ambition, that feels like an enemy inside. So the mind quietly pushes it out, exiles it from your conscious self.
Okay, so let's really unpack that. Clinical term is projection, right?
Yep.
But you're saying it's not just a mistake.
Not at all. It's a strategy, a desperate one sometimes. The mind is trying to avoid collapsing under the weight of something that feels too shameful or maybe too dangerous.
Like feelings or memories we've buried deep down.
Exactly. Imagine your psyche is like its own little country with borders. The ego is the border guard. Now, if a feeling comes up, maybe intense jealousy or a craving for attention, and it threatens the good self you present to the world, well, it gets declared an enemy of the state, persona non grata.
But you can't just poof,
Yeah.
make a feeling disappear, can you? It's still there.
Right. That's the clever part. You don't destroy it. You sort of smuggle it across the border of your awareness. You lend it to someone else, that colleague, that politician, whoever. You plant it out there.
Ah, so they become the problem.
Precisely. Now you can look at them and judge their flaw, their issue. You get to feel clean, maybe even superior. You're fighting the bad thing over there, completely missing that it's your own exiled feeling staring back at you.
And you mentioned the body knows first. That physical hit the tight chest, the sudden heat that happens before the judgment, right?
Yes, often it does. That jolt is your system recognizing something familiar, even if your conscious mind isn't there yet. It's the shock of encountering the return of the repressed. Something you disowned long ago is suddenly right there in someone else's behavior.
Wow. Okay. That's powerful. Let's make this more concrete. The research had some great examples. Daniel.
Ah, yes, Daniel. He sees himself as very controlled, very reasonable. Logic is his domain. He wouldn't dream of, say, crying or showing neediness. He buried that long ago.
Right, the picture of control.
Then he meets Lena, and Lena, well, she's different. She's emotionally expressive. She cries. She says things like, "I need you."
Which would probably horrify Daniel.
Exactly. He feels this immediate, strong repulsion. He labels her dramatic, maybe weak, unstable.
But wait, is he really seeing weakness in her? Or is it something else?
It's the mirror. That's the key. Lena isn't weak. She's simply unrepressed in areas where Daniel is heavily repressed. She owns the vulnerability he had to exile.
So his judgment isn't really about Lena at all.
It's aimed unconsciously at the part of himself that was never allowed to cry or ask for help, the child inside whose needs were silenced. Judging Lena reinforces his own internal role. Vulnerability is bad. Don't go there.
That completely changes how you might see those moments of intense dislike. Okay, what about the other example? Sophia, the one who dislikes ambition.
Right, Sophia, she's very vocal about being above things like status or wanting success. People who seek the spotlight, she calls them desperate, pathetic.
She sounds quite dismissive.
Very. But underneath that disdain, often there's this chained up hunger, a powerful desire to be seen, to be valued, to achieve. Maybe she learned early on that ambition wasn't nice or that good girls don't want that kind of attention, so she locked it away.
And projecting it lets her criticize it from afar.
Precisely. She can mock their ambition without ever having to face the terrifying thought, wow, I actually really want that too.
So in both cases, the strength of the trigger, that repulsion, is directly linked to how hard we push that part of ourselves away.
Absolutely. The more energy it took to repress, the more violently it seems to return when we encounter it in someone else.
It's like an internal war, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And this brings us right into that classic Freudian idea of the mind as a kind of battlefield.
Okay, the id, ego, superego stuff. Can we break that down simply? Where is this war happening?
Think of it like this. You've got the id. That's the raw primal energy, the part that just wants what it wants now. Pleasure, release, impulse, like a toddler demanding candy.
Okay, pure want.
Then there's the superego. That's the internalized rulebook. Society's rules, parental judgments, morality. It's the stern judge, always watching, often criticizing, inducing guilt.
The inner critic.
You got it. And caught in the middle is the poor ego. The part of you trying to navigate reality, balance the id's demands with the superego's rules, and, keep things running without a total meltdown.
The manager, trying to keep everyone happy or at least functional.
Exactly. So projection. That's often the ego's clever, almost desperate move when the id flares up with something the superego absolutely forbids.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, say, feeling intense rage towards your boss. Or maybe feeling deeply jealous of your own child's freedom or success. The id wants to scream or lash out, but the superego says, absolutely not. That's monstrous. You're a terrible person for feeling that. The conflict is too much.
So the ego steps in and points the finger outward.
Yes.
Yeah.
It says, it's not me who's full of rage, it's that guy over there, he's the angry one. Or it's not me who's jealous, it's her, she's the envious one.
Because admitting this forbidden feeling is mine feels like it would just break you, psychologically speaking, like inviting total condemnation from the superego.
It can feel like psychic death, yes. Maintaining that good self-image is paramount. And that's why the projection is so specific. It targets the exact thing you've disowned.
The trigger fits the wound perfectly.
Perfectly. That's why the reaction is so intense. It's the shock of seeing your own rejected part reflected back at you, raw and undeniable.
But doing this constantly, projecting parts of ourselves onto everyone else, it must have a cost, right? It sounds fragmenting.
Hugely fragmenting. The more you exile, the less whole you are. You start living in a world populated not by real people, but by mirrors reflecting your disowned pieces.
You stop seeing people clearly.
You see them through the lens of your unconscious baggage. This is related to transference, a concept often used in therapy, but it happens constantly in everyday life. We project these ghosts onto people. Ghosts of parents, past hurts, lost parts of ourselves.
So that colleague who seems dismissive,
They might not just be a colleague in that moment. Unconsciously, they might become the ghost of your critical father or the teacher who never saw your potential. You react to the ghost, not the actual person.
we're basically reliving old dramas with new actors.
Tragically, yes. And this leads to one of the cruelest twists. The self-fulfilling prophecy. It's called the compulsion to repeat.
How does that work?
Well, say you constantly fear abandonment and accuse your partner of being distant. Because of that fear, maybe you withdraw, become suspicious, push them away.
And then they do become distant.
Exactly. You've inadvertently recreated the very situation you feared, fulfilling the prophecy. You confirm your belief that people always leave.
And we do this. Why? It sounds like self-sabotage.
Unconsciously, the drive isn't just to suffer again. It's often an attempt to finally master the original wound. To replay the scene, but somehow get a different outcome this time.
But without awareness, you just repeat the pattern.
You just reenact the pain. Which leads us to the crucial question. How do we stop this cycle? How do we start bringing those exiled pieces back?
It sounds incredibly difficult, especially if the mind fights back so hard.
Oh, it does fight back. That's the force of resistance. Just when you get close to a difficult truth, an insight that challenges the ego's defenses,
What happened?
the unconscious slams on the brakes. Suddenly you might feel incredibly sleepy during a therapy session or reading a self-help book, or you get bored. Or you tell yourself this is nonsense, or I'm too busy for this navel-gazing.
So that feeling of wanting to run away or dismiss it, that's actually a sign.
It's a huge sign. That's the ego's defense system kicking into high gear. There's a great maxim.
Yeah.
The greater the resistance, the closer you usually are to the truth you need to confront.
Wow. Okay. So lean into the resistance. Don't run from the boredom or the urge to dismiss it.
That's the work. The antidote to projection is recognition. That sudden, often uncomfortable flash of insight where the projection just elapses.
The aha moment. Or maybe more like an oh no moment.
Often the latter. It's when you catch yourself mid-judgment and suddenly see it, you realize, wait a minute, the thing I hate in them is something I struggled with or hidden in myself. Every accusation starts to feel like a potential confession.
That takes immense courage, though.
It does, and recognition is just the doorway. Then comes the long, hard work Freud called Durcharbeitung, working through.
Working through.
It means metabolizing that truth. It's not one big revelation and you're fixed. It's integrating it, bit by bit. Often, the part you exiled doesn't come back as some monster. It comes back as a scared, vulnerable part of you, maybe like a child, needing understanding.
So it's a process of welcoming those parts back home.
Exactly, a homecoming, reclaiming the fragments. And the most practical tool you have right in the moment is the pause.
The pause.
Before you react, before the judgment solidifies, before you lash out, before you hit send, just pause and ask that revolutionary question. Is this really about them, or is this about me?
That pause creates space for a different response.
It creates the possibility of choice. So in practice, if you find yourself judging someone harshly for being, say, too emotional,
The question in the pause is,
what emotion am I terrified of feeling myself? What grief am I holding back? What would happen if I allowed myself that feeling?
and if you resent someone for being selfish,
Ask, what need of mine have I been chronically neglecting? Why did I learn it was wrong or shameful to prioritize my own needs?
so the real work isn't about fixing other people or becoming some perfect, enlightened being.
Not at all. It's about becoming whole. Integrating the shadows, the messy bits, the desires, the vulnerabilities you were taught were too much or not enough. It's about being able to whisper to those exiled parts, you belong here too. You are mine.
Tolerating our own complexity.
Yes, that tolerance is the bedrock of psychological health. The more you can hold your own contradictions, the less you need to find enemies outside yourself to carry them for you.
So that person who's been driving you crazy, the one you can't stop thinking about, judging.
They were never really the enemy you thought they were. In a strange way, they were a messenger.
A messenger.
They showed up not necessarily to hurt you, but perhaps to wake you up. To hold up a mirror to the part of yourself you refused or couldn't bear to see.
Wow, that lands heavily.
The choice ultimately is always yours. Will you keep throwing these rejected pieces of yourself onto others, perpetuating the cycle? Or will you find the courage to turn inward, toward those exiled parts waiting for you?
The war was always inside.
Always. And the real work, the healing, begins the moment you decide to turn that spotlight away from others and finally, truly, back onto yourself.